Have you ever noticed how quickly people ask about age before they ask about happiness? They want to know the number before they care about the connection. They measure birthdays, compare generations, and build opinions before they even understand the story. But life has taught me something fascinating. The most valuable things we discover rarely arrive in the package we expected. Innovation doesn't happen because someone follows the old blueprint. It happens because someone dares to question it. Love is remarkably similar. When I met you, I didn't see a number. I saw a presence that made the noise in my mind become quieter. I found someone whose words carried depth, whose silence carried peace, and whose character carried a strength that couldn't be measured by the calendar. While other people were counting years, I was discovering qualities that many spend an entire lifetime searching for: compassion, patience, integrity, emotional intelligence, the ability to understand without judgment. Those are the things that truly shape a relationship. The world often trains us to evaluate people based on categories: young or old, successful or unsuccessful, rich or poor. But the greatest breakthroughs happen when we stop seeing labels and start seeing potential. Imagine if every great idea had been rejected simply because it didn't fit the accepted pattern. Humanity would never have moved forward. The same principle applies to relationships. Some of the strongest connections begin where expectations end. People ask, why would you choose someone older? I think the better question is, why wouldn't you choose the person who makes you feel understood? Because at the end of the day, understanding is far rarer than attraction. Attraction may capture your attention for a moment, but understanding captures your heart for a lifetime. A binge can influence experience, but it doesn't determine love. Love is built through thousands of conversations, moments of trust, shared laughter, difficult seasons, and the quiet decision to remain present when life becomes uncertain. Those moments cannot be manufactured, and they certainly cannot be predicted by the difference in years between two people. There is something incredibly powerful about meeting someone who has walked a different path and still chooses to walk beside you. Different experiences don't have to divide people, they can complete them. One person may bring wisdom earned through decades of lessons, while the other brings fresh energy, curiosity, and a fearless belief in tomorrow. Instead of creating distance, those differences can become the very reason the relationship thrives. The truth is, every meaningful relationship is unique. No algorithm can calculate chemistry. No equation can predict loyalty. No statistic can fully explain why two people feel completely at home in each other's presence. Human connection has always been more complex and far more beautiful than simple mathematics. Some people will never understand your choice because they're looking at your relationship from the outside. They see numbers, you experience moments. They see years, you feel peace. They see a difference in age. You see a person who inspires you to become better every single day. Those are completely different perspectives, and only one of them truly matters. If your relationship is built on respect, honesty, admiration, and unwavering commitment, then you've already discovered something many people spend their entire lives chasing. Never apologize for choosing a soul that understands yours simply because the calendar tells a different story. Because in the end, hearts don't fall in love with birthdays. They fall in love with the person who finally feels like home. Before I met you, I believed that intelligence alone was enough to build a meaningful life. I admired ambition, admired speed, admired people who could solve impossible problems. But over time, I realized that life asks questions no amount of technical knowledge can answer. It asks how you respond when things fall apart. It asks whether you can stay calm when fear enters the room. It asks whether you can love without trying to control, and whether you can forgive without keeping score. Those answers don't usually come from youth. They come from experience. That is one of the greatest gifts you brought into my life. Your age wasn't what attracted me. It was what your years had quietly built inside you. Every challenge you had faced had refined your perspective. Every disappointment had taught you patience. Every success had humbled you enough to know that nothing meaningful is achieved alone. I wasn't drawn to the number of birthdays you had celebrated. I was drawn to the wisdom those birthdays had left behind. There is something extraordinary about being with someone who doesn't panic every time life becomes uncertain. Instead of reacting emotionally, you pause. Instead of assuming the worst, you search for understanding. Instead of turning every disagreement into a battle, you look for a solution. That kind of emotional stability is incredibly rare, and once you experience it, you begin to understand how valuable it truly is. The world often celebrates speed, faster careers, faster success, faster relationships. But some of the most important things in life cannot be rushed. Trust grows slowly. Character develops quietly. Emotional maturity is built over countless ordinary days when no one is watching. Those qualities cannot be downloaded overnight. They are earned through living. You taught me that strength doesn't always speak loudly. Sometimes strength is choosing silence instead of anger. Sometimes it's listening when it's easier to argue. Sometimes it's admitting you're wrong without feeling smaller because of it. That kind of confidence doesn't need to prove itself. It simply exists, steady and dependable. I've also learned that wisdom changes the way you see failure. Younger minds often believe failure is the end of the story. Wiser minds understand it's simply another chapter. You've shown me that setbacks don't define us unless we allow them to. Every obstacle becomes a lesson. Every disappointment becomes preparation. Every closed door quietly points toward another opportunity that couldn't have been seen before. That perspective is contagious. It changes the people around you. It changed me. Instead of fearing uncertainty, I began to see it as the birthplace of possibility. Instead of chasing approval, I started chasing purpose. Instead of trying to impress everyone, I focused on becoming someone whose actions speak louder than opinions. Your influence wasn't loud or forceful. It was consistent. Day after day, your example reshaped the way I approached life. People sometimes assume that the younger person in a relationship is the only one receiving something valuable. I don't believe that at all. Growth moves in both directions. While your experience brought clarity into my life, my dreams, curiosity, and willingness to imagine new possibilities brought fresh energy into yours. You reminded me that wisdom and wonder don't compete. They strengthen each other. That's what makes a truly great partnership. One person doesn't complete the other because they're lacking. They expand each other because they're willing to keep learning. One brings perspective, the other brings momentum. One has seen many sunsets, the other still wakes up excited for the sunrise. Together they create a future that neither could have built alone. So when people ask why my heart chose someone older, the answer is beautifully simple. I wasn't searching for more years. I was searching for more depth. I wasn't looking for perfection. I was looking for peace. And I found both in someone whose greatest beauty was never age, but the wisdom that transformed every year into something worth sharing. Because the richest life is not built by counting how many years someone has lived, but by discovering how much light those years have taught them to carry. The moment two people choose a path that doesn't fit society's expectations, they discover something interesting. The relationship is no longer judged only by the people inside it. It becomes a conversation for everyone outside it. Suddenly, strangers become experts. Friends become critics. Family members begin asking questions that sound like concern but often carry doubt. They wonder if the age difference will become a problem. They predict obstacles before you've even had the chance to experience joy. And if you're not careful, you can begin hearing their voices louder than your own heart. I've learned that every meaningful decision in life comes with resistance. If you're building something innovative, people will tell you it's impossible. If you're pursuing an unconventional dream, they'll tell you it's unrealistic. And if you choose to love someone who doesn't fit society's expectations, they'll often assume they know your future better than you do. But history has always belonged to the people who had the courage to trust what they knew, even when others couldn't see it. That doesn't mean we ignore advice or reject wisdom from people who genuinely care. There is value in listening. There is value in honest conversations. But there is a difference between thoughtful guidance and fear disguised as wisdom. One helps you see clearly. The other pressures you to abandon what makes you genuinely happy. There were moments when I wondered whether the opinions around us would slowly become walls between us. It's easy to feel confident when everything is quiet. The real test comes when criticism grows louder. That's when you discover whether your relationship is built on appearances or on conviction. What amazed me was not that people judged us. That was almost inevitable. What amazed me was how we responded. We didn't spend our energy trying to convince everyone else. We invested it in understanding each other more deeply. Every difficult conversation became another reason to communicate honestly. Every doubtful comment reminded us to strengthen the trust we were building together. Instead of allowing outside pressure to divide us, we allowed it to refine us. That's the hidden power of love. It doesn't eliminate challenges, it changes the way you face them. When two people genuinely respect one another, criticism loses much of its ability to create fear. You stop asking, "What will everyone think?" and start asking, "Are we treating each other with kindness, honesty, and respect?" That shift changes everything because it moves the focus away from public opinion and back to personal responsibility. The truth is, people often judge what they don't understand. They see an age gap, but they don't see the late night conversations that strengthened your bond. They don't see the quiet support during difficult days. They don't see the laughter that fills ordinary moments or the encouragement that helps each of you become stronger. They see a headline, you live the story. No relationship should be built to satisfy spectators. A relationship is not a performance. It isn't designed to collect applause or silence criticism. It exists because two people choose every single day to build a life based on trust rather than approval. And when you understand that, something incredibly freeing happens. You stop trying to win arguments you never needed to join. There will always be people who question your choices because those choices challenge their assumptions. Let them question. Their uncertainty doesn't have to become your own. The strength of a relationship isn't measured by how little criticism it receives, but by how faithfully two people continue choosing each other despite it. At the end of the day, the world will always have an opinion, but only the two hearts living the journey have the right to decide where that journey leads. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing that the perfect relationship is the one without challenges. It sounds comforting, but it isn't true. Every meaningful relationship faces obstacles. Some couples struggle with finances, others struggle with distance, careers, family expectations, health, or different personalities. Every partnership carries its own unique set of tests. An age difference is simply one of many variables. It is not the definition of the relationship. Too often, people look at an age gap relationship and immediately assume that the age difference is the greatest challenge. But I've learned something that completely changed my perspective. The real challenge isn't the number of years between two people. The real challenge is whether two people are willing to grow together. If they are, almost every obstacle becomes manageable. If they aren't, even two people born on the exact same day can slowly drift apart. Life isn't static. We evolve. Our priorities change. Our dreams expand. Our fears shift. A successful relationship isn't built because two people stay exactly the same forever. It's built because they continue adapting without losing sight of each other. Of course, an age difference introduces questions that deserve honest conversations. There may be different career stages. One person might be focused on building a business while the other has already spent decades creating one. There may be different perspectives on retirement, family planning, travel, health, or long-term goals. Ignoring these realities doesn't make them disappear. Mature love doesn't avoid difficult conversations. It welcomes them. What impressed me most wasn't that we had all the answers from the beginning. We didn't. What mattered was that neither of us was afraid to ask the difficult questions. We chose honesty over comfort. We chose clarity over assumptions. We understood that avoiding today's conversation often creates tomorrow's conflict. That's a principle that extends far beyond relationships. Every ambitious mission begins with acknowledging reality instead of pretending it doesn't exist. The stronger the foundation, the higher you can build. Relationships work the same way. Transparency isn't a weakness, it's structural integrity. It's what allows two people to withstand pressure without collapsing under it. There were moments when our perspectives differed because our experiences were different. You had lived through seasons I hadn't yet experienced. I looked at certain opportunities with excitement, while you looked at them with the wisdom of someone who had already learned valuable lessons. At first, I wondered whether those differences would separate us. Instead, they became one of our greatest strengths. You reminded me to slow down when I rushed. I reminded you that it's never too late to dream bigger. You offered perspective when my ambition outran my patience. I offered optimism when past disappointments tried to limit future possibilities. Neither approach was complete on its own. Together, they created balance. That's what healthy love does. It doesn't erase differences, it transforms them into advantages. It recognizes that diversity of experience can produce stronger decisions, richer conversations, and deeper understanding. Instead of asking who's right, it asks, what can we learn from each other? I've realized that commitment isn't proven when everything is easy. It's revealed when life becomes complicated. It's revealed in the willingness to compromise without resentment, to communicate without defensiveness, and to keep choosing each other even when circumstances demand extra patience. No relationship is guaranteed success because of similar ages, matching backgrounds, or perfect timing. Success belongs to those who remain curious about one another, who keep listening long after the excitement of the beginning has faded, and who understand that love is not maintained by avoiding challenges but by facing them side by side. In the end, age may shape the journey, but character determines the destination. And two committed hearts will always travel farther than two matching birthdays ever could. One of the greatest gifts another person can give you is not comfort, success, or even happiness. It is growth. Real love has a way of holding up a mirror, not to show you your flaws so you can feel ashamed of them, but to show you your potential so you can finally become the person you were capable of being all along. Looking back, I realized that loving you didn't change who I was at my core. It revealed parts of me that had been waiting for the right environment to grow. Before you came into my life, I measured progress by achievements. I believed that every milestone reached, every goal accomplished, every challenge conquered was proof that I was moving forward. There is value in ambition, and I still believe in dreaming beyond what seems possible. But I also discovered that there is another kind of success, one that cannot be measured by titles, numbers, or recognition. It's the success of becoming more patient, more present, more understanding, and more intentional with the people who matter most. You never asked me to become someone else. You simply inspired me to become a better version of myself. That distinction matters because the healthiest relationships don't demand that we abandon our identity. Instead, they strengthen it. They encourage us to be more courageous, more disciplined, and more authentic. They don't shrink our world, they expand it. Somehow, without pressure or expectation, your presence challenged me to think more deeply, listen more carefully, and appreciate moments that I would have once rushed past. I began noticing the small things, the conversations that didn't need to solve a problem, the quiet evenings where nothing extraordinary happened, yet everything felt meaningful. The simple act of knowing someone truly understood me became more valuable than impressing a room full of strangers. It reminded me that fulfillment is often found in places that success alone cannot reach. Your experience also changed the way I viewed mistakes. Instead of seeing every failure as something to hide, I started seeing it as something to learn from. You carried your own scars with honesty, never pretending life had been perfect. That gave me permission to stop chasing the impossible image of perfection and start pursuing genuine progress instead. I realized that strength isn't built by never falling. It's built by standing up with greater wisdom each time you do. What amazed me most was how naturally our differences became opportunities for growth. You brought calm into situations where I would have reacted too quickly. I brought fresh ideas into moments where routine had become too comfortable. We challenged each other without competing. We supported each other without controlling. We celebrated each other's victories without jealousy. That's a rare kind of partnership because it's built on mutual respect rather than insecurity. People often assume that the younger person is simply learning from the older one, but that's only half the story. Growth flowed in both directions. While your years gave me perspective, my optimism reminded you that the future still held countless possibilities. While you taught me the value of patience, I encouraged you to keep believing that bold dreams never have an expiration date. We became better not because one of us had all the answers, but because both of us remained willing to learn. I've come to understand that the right relationship doesn't remove your ambition. It gives it a stronger foundation. It doesn't distract you from your purpose. It reminds you why your purpose matters. When someone believes in you during moments of doubt, challenges become opportunities instead of obstacles. You stop working only to prove something to the world and start building a life that reflects your deepest values. If there is one lesson I will carry with me forever, it is this. The greatest measure of love is not how intensely someone makes you feel in a single moment, but how consistently they inspire you to become a wiser, kinder, and stronger human being over time. Because the right person doesn't simply walk beside your journey, they quietly transform the person taking the journey, and that is a legacy no amount of time can ever diminish. As we've journeyed through this conversation, one truth has become impossible to ignore. Love was never meant to be measured by time. We often treat years as if they determine the value of a relationship, but years only tell us how long someone has lived. They tell us nothing about how deeply someone can love, how faithfully someone can stand beside another person, or how completely two hearts can transform each other's lives. When two people genuinely choose one another, something remarkable happens. Time stops being the center of the story. It doesn't disappear, it simply takes its rightful place. It becomes the background, not the destination. The relationship is no longer built around the question, who is older? It is built around a far more important question. Will we continue choosing each other tomorrow, just as we do today? That is the real foundation of lasting love. I've come to realize that every day presents us with a decision. Love isn't sustained by the excitement of the first meeting or the emotion of a beautiful memory. Those moments are important, but they are only the beginning. The real strength of love is found in ordinary mornings, difficult conversations, unexpected setbacks, and quiet evenings when life feels routine. It's in those ordinary moments that extraordinary relationships are built. People often fear time because they believe it takes things away. It changes appearances, it introduces new responsibilities. It reminds us that life is constantly moving forward. But I see time differently. Time doesn't destroy genuine love, it reveals it. The relationships built only on attraction slowly fade when appearances change. The relationships built only on excitement struggle when life becomes predictable. But relationships built on respect, trust, friendship, and unwavering commitment become stronger because every passing year gives those qualities another opportunity to grow. Think about the greatest achievements humanity has ever accomplished. None of them happened overnight. Every meaningful creation required patience, persistence, setbacks, and countless moments when giving up would have been easier than continuing. Lasting love follows the same principle. It isn't created in a single unforgettable moment. It is engineered through thousands of intentional choices, each one reinforcing the foundation beneath it. I know there will be challenges ahead. Life guarantees that. There will be moments when plans change, when unexpected difficulties arrive, and when the future looks different from what we imagined. But I've learned that uncertainty doesn't have to create fear when you're standing beside someone you trust completely. In fact, uncertainty often becomes the place where trust proves its greatest strength. What gives me confidence isn't the belief that life will always be easy. It's the certainty that we've built something capable of adapting. We've learned to communicate honestly. We've learned to respect each other's perspectives. We've learned that differences don't have to create distance. They can inspire growth. Those lessons are worth far more than having the perfect circumstances. One day, people may stop talking about our age difference altogether. New conversations will replace the old ones. Opinions will change, and the world will move on to judging something else. That's the nature of society. But what remains will be the life we've built together. The memories no one else experienced, the obstacles we overcame, the dreams we pursued, the laughter shared in moments no camera ever captured. Those are the things that define a relationship, not the headlines, not the assumptions, and certainly not the numbers. When I look toward the future, I don't see someone older walking beside someone younger. I see two people who refuse to let fear make their decisions. I see two lives strengthened by honesty, challenged by growth, and united by purpose. I see a partnership where wisdom and curiosity, experience and ambition, calmness and hope all found a way to exist together without competing. So if anyone ever asks why my heart chose you despite the years between us, my answer will always remain the same. Because love has never been about finding someone who fits the world's expectations. It's about finding the one person whose presence makes every season of life more meaningful, every challenge more bearable, and every tomorrow more worth believing in. Because when two hearts keep choosing each other, every passing year becomes proof that love is stronger than time itself.